Good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. But of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. Have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. And in today's news you can use. Yesterday, I was rejoined on Conversations Live, the radio show, by actor, best-selling author, and advocate Holly Robinson Peete. We discussed not only her success, but also what she's living with that over 33 million Americans are dealing with, and that is overactive bladder. You'll be hearing part of that conversation today. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In international news, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says war against Hamas will not stop after ceasefire. Israel and Hamas on Tuesday appear close to a deal to temporarily halt their devastating 6-week war for dozens of hostages being held in the Gaza Strip to be freed in exchange for Palestinians in Israeli prisons. But as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened his cabinet for a vote, he vowed to resume the Israeli offensive against Hamas as soon as the truce ends. "We are at war, and we will continue the war," he said. "We will continue until we achieve all our goals." The Israeli cabinet was expected to vote on a plan that would halt Israel's offensive in Gaza for several days in exchange for the release of about 50 of the 240 hostages held by Hamas. Israel has vowed to continue the war until it destroys Hamas military capabilities and returns all hostages. Hamas predicted a Qatari-mediated deal could be reached in the coming hours. Netanyahu acknowledged that the cabinet faced a tough decision, but supporting the ceasefire was the right thing to do. Netanyahu appeared to have enough support to pass the measure, despite opposition from some hardline ministers. Netanyahu said that during the lull, intelligence efforts will be maintained, allowing the army to prepare for the next stage of battle. He said the battle will continue until Gaza will not threaten Israel. The announcement came as Israeli troops battled Palestinian militants in an urban refugee camp in northern Gaza and around hospitals overcrowded with patients and sheltering families. Details of the expected ceasefire deal were not released. Israeli media reported that an agreement would include a 5-day halt in Israel's offensive in Gaza and the release of 50 hostages held by Hamas in exchange for some 150 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Israel's Channel 12 TV said the first releases would take place on Thursday or Friday and continue for several days. Talks have repeatedly stalled, but even if a deal is reached, it would not mean an end of the war. In national news, 60 years after JFK's death, today's Kennedys choose other paths to public service. Patrick Kennedy, son of Senator Ted Kennedy and nephew of President John F. Kennedy, remembers being a young state legislator in Rhode Island some 30 years ago and hearing encouraging words from the opposition leader at the time. "I just want you to know that no matter what you do, nothing's going to take away from everyone's memory and appreciation of what your family has done for this country," David Dumas told him. He meant that don't preoccupy yourself with worrying about whether you're a good representative of your family or not, Patrick Kennedy, now a former congressman, said in a recent Zoom interview. Kennedy spoke shortly before the 60th anniversary of the assassination of President Kennedy, a seismic national event that predates most American lives, but remains an inflection point in the country's history as a wellspring of modern conspiracy theories, as a debate over what JFK might have achieved, and an emotional cornerstone of the Kennedy story. The anniversary arrives at an unusual moment for the Kennedys. It's a moment when the family's mission to uphold a legacy of public service and high ideals competes for attention with the presidential candidacy of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose anti-vax advocacy and inflammatory comments about everything from the Holocaust to the pandemic have led to a rare public family breach. In more national news, Fani Willis appears in court to argue that Trump co-defendant's bond should be revoked in Georgia. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis made a rare appearance in court Tuesday to argue for the revocation of the bond of one of former President Donald Trump's co-defendants in the Georgia case related to efforts to overturn the 2020 election. In her first time appearing in court in the case since the indictment was filed in August, Willis presented the prosecution's case against Harrison Floyd, who was a leader in the organization Black Voices for Trump. In entertainment news, the Rolling Stones announced 2024 North American tour in support of Hackney Diamonds' album. Last month, the Rolling Stones released Hackney Diamonds, their first album of original material in 18 years. Tuesday, the legendary English band announced they're taking it on the road. Starting on April 28, 2024 in Houston and concluding in Santa Clara, California on July 17th, the Stones will make their way across the U.S. and Canada. And finally, in business news, Wall Street drifts lower in a rare stumble following its big rally. Wall Street drifted to a lower close following a strong rally that had vaulted it to its highest level since the start of August. The S&P 500 fell 0.2% on Tuesday, its third loss in the last 17 days. The Dow fell 62 points, and the Nasdaq Composite gave back 0.6%. Lowe's and Best Buy both sank despite reporting stronger profit for the latest quarter than expected. Each cited challenges ahead and cut their forecast for results over the full year. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. You are your own competition. The words of others only have the weight you give them. Do not allow the naysayers to stop you. Believe in yourself, and you will win the race every time. Now go have an amazing hump day. Holly Robinson Peete is featured in today's news you can use. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your news you can use. Holly Robinson Peete rejoined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about her success, but also dealing with overactive bladder, something that over 33 million Americans are living with. It's a bit of our conversation.
Holly, thank you again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It's great to talk to you again.
Yeah, you've had a lot going on, Holly. We had a chance to talk to you after you got your Hollywood Walk of Fame, and then, of course, you released Charlie Makes a Splash. And this year, of course, having the work you're doing with the Holly Robinson Foundation being recognized. Talk to us about this experience, Holly. What has it been like for you to use your platform the way you have and to see the difference you've been able to make?
Well, Cyrus, the role of advocate is one I'm extremely proud of, as you know. And I love talking about things that people don't necessarily talk about. It helps people feel seen. It gives information that you may not get. I remember when we got the diagnosis of autism, I didn't see a lot of advocacy out there. I didn't hear, celebrities really using their platform to talk about it. And I know that was helpful to so many. So, it's a role that I'm very proud of. And so I've been partnering with Sumitomo Pharma America as part of their Time to Go campaign, which brings attention to overactive bladder, or OAB, which is a chronic condition that creates a feeling of a sudden urge to urinate that is difficult to control, and a condition that I'm personally affected by. So it was a natural fit.
Yeah. So let's get more into that, Holly, because as you said, you've been able to bring attention to a lot of different things. So when did you first notice symptoms, and what finally made you speak up when it comes to overactive bladder?
I first started experiencing OAB symptoms a few years ago. I knew something was going on because I just had this urgent need to go. It just didn't feel like a normal need to go. And it was like now, right? At work, at home, wherever I was, in public places, in public events. And I would just go everywhere I would go. I would just immediately find out where the bathroom was. And, when I had to go, it was like I had to go.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. But back on tomorrow, more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, your entertainment spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.